Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to yet another episode of the World History and Geography GCast presented by Gibsonian Institute. So, today, what we are going to be looking at is we're going to be looking back at the introductions that we just made. I've created a little checklist to make sure that we've got everything that I look for in a introduction. There is going to be some work that we're going to make to that, so everyone's going to need to tweak those up. They were rough drafts after all, so there's no shame in that. And then what we're going to be looking forward to next with some of the research in the body paragraphs and topic sentences. So let's get right into it. So on Google Classroom, you will find several attachments. The first of which you should see is the introduction checklist. You'll notice in here that I want you to answer the following questions and make sure your introduction is satisfactory. If you find that your draft was perfect, which it should not be because it's a draft, then you didn't look enough into improving it. So there's questions to guide you about this whole process. So did I have a good opening sentence, a good hook or attention grabber? Almost the vast majority of us should be answering no, just looking through those. It's just something that we just forgot to add into it. So we're going to pay special attention to that. And then you're going to put the hook or attention grabber changes that you're going to make right here. So whatever sentence you're going to change, what is it going to be? You put it right in the document or in the form. And then next, you should have mentioned who the figure is. Of course, that one's kind of straightforward. Where they're from, some of their major works and accomplishments. And again, as if you're forgetting parts of it, you of course make changes to the draft, but I also want to see what you're changing here in the form. So answer the form as well as make the adjustments. So the way it should look here is I've got a pretty good example from a student here that we'll look at. All right, so you should have it side by side. We're looking at the Princess Elizabeth of Bohemia. So a student that's been doing that one, fairly good job so far. It's a very solid introduction, but it's missing a couple of pieces, right? So what you should be doing is you're going to read over your own introduction, and as you're going, evaluate the process, evaluate how you've done. So that way you can make the change as is, as you're going along, and then also detail the change that you made on the Google form. All right, so that's going to move us on to our next part, which is going to be the attention grabber. All right, so let's go back to full screen here. I'm going to post this on Google Classroom. It's a great guide to help you with what would be a good hook or attention grabber. So there's a popular one would be a quotation, maybe, especially with these figures. A lot of them have really good quotes. So we already looked at some of their quotes with the place card, so that's not a bad idea. Or maybe an explanation of what the reader is about to see. So look over this document and make sure you create a hook for your introduction. You need to start that off with that sentence first. All right, so moving along to what would be the next part, we're going to be looking at the topic sentences. So I've kind of given you a lot of details and examples as to what this would look like. So I won't go through all of this on the video here, but reading through this, you should be able to get a good idea as to what we're looking for. So this is looking now forward to the body paragraphs. Every body paragraph needs a topic sentence to begin with. So the format of the paragraphs entirely will look something like this as we start to add more details to it. So the topic sentence is going to be a good example of what we're going to be writing about in that paragraph. So if you look at my examples here, this is similar to what you saw on the intro draft, right? So here's your two Biosketch questions. Back over here. So here's the first question I'm answering. Is organized religion good or bad for mankind? My person that I've been using as my example is David Hume. So my topic sentence is, David Hume wrote extensively on the topic of religion and the effects it has on humanity. So what the reader should assume is that I'm going to continue on with that paragraph now on to what Hume said about religion and how it affected humanity. And then my second topic sentence comes from the question of what can be done to promote human progress. The sentence I made, being a pioneering Scottish philosopher, David Hume was an early advocate for empiricism. So again, the reader knows what I'm going to be writing about. They can assume that I'm now going to talk in more detail about Hume and his ideas on empiricism and how it's going to make the world a better place. All right, and then below you'll see your turn. Make sure you're following this format. All right, underline the sentence. That way it's clear and it looks different than the rest of it, so I can identify quickly which part is which. you should have an idea as to what you're going to be talking about in the paragraph, because it's going to be guided by the question. So a lot of the work has already been done. All right, so it may seem that we're going to have a lot of work coming from writing this paper, but if you figure all the work we've already done with Biosketch is going to come into play here. Now, one thing that you'll notice going back to my example here is I want you to, the third thing, so there's two things that are going to be done. First thing is the introduction checklist, as well as making adjustments to your draft. Okay. Then the second thing will be making the 2 topic sentences, as shown here. And then there's one more thing I want you to do, and that's going to be adding research to your Biosketch questions here. So you'll see I put bullet points because for each question, you should have several bullet points. And just in case, I looked up how many is several, according to Marquette Law, EDU, very good source, right? EDU. Several means 7 or more, maybe a few, 3 to 6. So it should be somewhere in that area. The more you have for each question, the easier it will be to write. And then also, the more detail you add, the better off this paper is going to be. It doesn't need to be just filled with facts from start to finish, but the more information you're giving the reader, the better the paper will be, because it's supposed to inform the reader. All right, so the more information you have, the more informative it is. So what you should be doing is adding the bullet points of research. All right, so that would involve going back and making sure that you're corroborating research. Make sure you're finding other sources to use besides just the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, because there's only so much that you can find at one source. So make sure you're stretching out your search here. And this is going to be something I'm going to be interested in everyone, is to make sure that we have several different points here. So make sure that you have at least, I would say several, but at least 4 or 5 for each question that you're going to be doing, because that's going to guide the writing here. All right. So all of this will be posted on Classroom. Again, if there's any questions, you can always see me at the office hours from 12:30 to 1, but also you can email me directly. That is the preferred method of contact now, or communication. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me through those mediums. Other than that, this will be due Monday, so you got a bit of time to work on these. I want to make sure that we're finding a lot of research. That's why I'm making it due so much later in the week. But we should have a good weekend, of course, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.